And yeah, so I went to meet Wiley for the first time, and yeah, within 2 minutes they just said, "Oh, you're my manager," and I was like, "Well, shouldn't we get to know each other?" He was like, "No, no, no, you're just like you're my manager." You know, so my introduction to like real life management, first thing I had to do was fight Madonna and Justin Timberlake for #1. I became obsessed with the Chantel song "Impossible." I was like, who wrote this song? And then it was this woman, Ina Rolston. Got her to the studio, she came, she was like, oh my God, I hate this, I'm leaving. Just give us another half an hour.
Yes.
In that half an hour, she wrote How Deep Is Your Love. Until one day, Colin Tyler's manager was like, you know what, why don't you come to Atlanta? And in that one day in Atlanta, that's when Water was written, you know?
Crazy.
John Woolf is the founder of A-List Management, a powerhouse in the talent and entertainment industry, representing a diverse roster that includes dance music maestro Elderbrook, multi-disciplinary artist Kojey Radical, and Jake Gosling, the producer behind Ed Sheeran's debut album. John has built a reputation for shaping careers and creating global opportunities. His innovative approach and unmatched industry expertise makes him one of the most influential figures in talent management today.
Every year's ahead to wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.
My man.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Really
No.
looking forward to this. What brings you to South Africa? Start there.
Well, I guess I'm just here on holiday. My mom is from South Africa, so I feel like it's like in my soul. I spent my early childhood, but sort of first 12 years of my life,
Yeah.
between South Africa and London. I would sort of my grandparents lived in Joburg, so I would spend like I learned how to play tennis or swim at the Wanderers. Like, my early childhood memories are in Johannesburg, and all my school holidays were there. So I guess it's in my heart. Like
That's
I
crazy,
feel
man.
I feel happy when I'm here. So yeah,
That's amazing, bro. How long are you in town for?
I'm just here for 2 weeks. Just
Okay.
like this is the only time of year where I have me time and I can do stuff like this or other things. Where it's like the rest of the year, it's like just. Yeah, I don't get this kind of. I don't get to I can't wake up and think, what do I want to do today?
Amazing, bro. Amazing.
Yeah,
And it's incredible that you still choose this place, bro, to do that. So that's
I love
bro.
it. It's the best energy. So,
Tell me, bro, if we are at some sort of professional setting or like a dinner party with industry people, how do you best articulate like what you do for a living? If you, let's say, we're at a Grammy after party.
Yeah, I mean, I could be anywhere. But I guess what I do for a living is I run a management company where we look after artists and DJs and producers and songwriters, and just try and work with people we think we can add value to, or people that we think like fit into our wheelhouse of what we care about. I think it's also about us as a company, trying to think of how we can evolve and move forward and get into things of like owning IP or building things ourselves. So we as a business can eventually have something we can sell one day where people can be like, we understand the value of this business, because sadly in my business, you could manage an artist one day and, you could fall out with them the next day. So it's like, you need to actually have something that, is tangible as an asset that you can actually sell at one point,
Especially in the music business, bro. I can't wait to get into all of that.
Let's do it. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, bro. So tell me, if we are watching like a Netflix documentary one day on your life, or we're watching, or we reading or we're reading your autobiography, where would you say the documentary or the book would start? Where would you see the sort of introduction to your life story?
In music.
In your life,
in my life,
let's say your life, and feel free to give us like as much early context,
I guess like my first thing I loved doing was DJing randomly. Like someone gave me decks when I was about 14 or 15.
Yeah.
And I just was the guy that would turn up at people's like house parties with the speakers and the decks. And
crazy.
I just knew I liked doing that. And, like people would be like, oh, he has decks and he can DJ a little bit. I wasn't like the best DJ, but I just liked it. And and it was just fun. And through that, it kind of got me into wanting to put on parties or things similar to yourself. And it was just kind of, evolved into like, it was what made me happy. I guess I was fortunate to sort of, you know, I grew up around people who I saw in the music industry who I aspired to like be like. You know, I didn't sort of know them, but they were people close to me who I saw like, oh, like this person lives close by to me, or this or this, and it was like, oh, I just, everything about music somehow just spoke to me or made me happy, and it was something where I think I just sort of didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just knew it had to be something involving music or something creative was what I felt I had to do. How I was going to get paid doing that, I had to figure out. You know, I think everyone has to go on some type of journey to find where it ends. You know, and I think with me, I sort of did this journey of like, okay, I'm going to put on parties, I'm going to do the DJ thing, and then I don't know, people just sort of kept coming to me and sort of saying, oh, do you want to come in the studio with me? I didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew like how songs in parties I was going to sounded like. And if I could meet someone that knew how to translate that into music, could be a vibe. So then suddenly I liked being in studios and making records, and people were like, wanted me around. And it was kind of fortuitous in that way, where that was kind of happening. And then people would come up to me, and then I started to become more interested in the business side of things, because, you know, again, like not being the greatest DJ, I wasn't the greatest producer, but I think I had an understanding of how records needed to be sort of arranged or edited. I think I was very good at that. I still am quite good at that, but I wasn't the guy that could sit and play chords or do this or do that, but I just had a general musical understanding, I think. And then people would come up to me and start asking me to manage them, and that's I kind of fell into things by everything. Just kind of would kind of go. I would put myself in scenarios where something like that could happen, I guess, because I just kept trying to do things, and people eventually
places and
kind of and people just believed in me, I think, you know, and sometimes you need that.
What music were you playing when you were still DJing out of these parties?
I was like, well, sadly I'm a bit older than you, but yeah, it was like 90s hip hop, or it was like garage. You know, I loved garage was my thing, and drum and bass was my thing, and it just felt exciting. That was like, garage was like, and hip hop at the time was like our music. You know, you go to the raves and it would be like, you'd hear, you know, my friends would make a song, would go and listen to it in the rave, and it would be like, you know, you'd watch the reaction, and that was like, you know, that's how songs were breaking. It was so organic how songs could become big back then, in terms of it was just like you could literally, and so many songs that saw become massive hits from like initially just being songs that were just like our rave songs, but people would go to other DJs and just give them dub plates or give them CDs, and that's how you would spread the word of a song.
It was all on the ground.
Yeah, but it was like, and then it was just like, will this song work in my set? You know, and it wasn't like, oh, this song is doing well online or on TikTok or on streaming. Yeah. It was merely like, is this song gonna go off in a party? And that's all that mattered, you know.
And if it works or not.
The people didn't care about if it crossed over or if it became a hit or this or that. It was just like, this is what it is, you know.
So you say you fell into management. So how did that happen? Who was the first artist? How did that?
So I think, well, the first thing I did was I fell into, I did a project with one of the guys from The Roots, a big band from America. So it was a beatboxer called Scratch.
Oh yes,
and
of
I
course.
did like
Scratch and Razal, man.
Yeah, so I did an album with them called Lost for Words. Was this the first thing I did, where I had like Kanye before he was
on it. Yeah,
so I had Kanye before he was Kanye, and I had like Tyler Corley and Damon Albarn and some other people, and you know, I was managing to just like hustle these people on this record with this beatboxer.
Crazy,
in that before I'd met him, I'd become friends with this other beatboxer called Killer Keller, who was like this
I know Killer Keller.
super like popular kid in the UK at the time, and like Pharrell was messing with Killer Keller, and you know, I still like him a lot, so shout out to Killer Keller. But at that time I was really interested in the art of beatboxing, and I just thought like what Killer Keller was doing was sick, and through him sort of managed to meet Scratch and these things, and did this project, and it was like, it was seen as cool, but it didn't like do anything commercially. But like, I guess people thought, oh, it's cool that, you know, I managed to get a Kanye before, when Kanye was still a producer, you know. So it was like, I had people on the record that you'd be like, if you looked at it now, you'd be like, that's crazy, but at the time these people weren't perhaps who they'd become.
Yeah.
So it was just hustle. I would literally just like relentlessly run people down to try and get people on these records. And I guess that was what I was good at, was persistence, you know. And then there was a presenter in the UK called Reggie Yates, and him and a guy called Twin B. Well, mainly Twin B, who's still like, he runs Def Jam in the UK, and he's a radio presenter. Like, so shout out to Twin B. And a guy called Richard Antwi, who sadly passed away. But like, they came to me and they were like, you should meet Wiley, who at the time was like a sort of UK legend in sort of grime and stuff. And they were like, you guys should meet. You have similar energy, or you're someone that could perhaps work with him. And I don't know what that says about me, but like, and so I went to meet them for the first time, and within 2 minutes they just said, oh, you're my manager. And I was like, well, shouldn't we get to know each other? He was like, no, you're just like you're my manager. Jeez. And then we had this record, Wearing My Rolex, and it was like,
it's huge.
And then, you know, so my introduction to like real life management, I guess, was a baptism of fire, because first thing I had to do was fight Madonna and Justin Timberlake for #1.
That's crazy, John.
And
that's mad.
And I didn't know what I was doing. And we got to #2 in the charts, but I had to sink or swim. And I think that's the best way you're going to learn, because you can go to college and read a book and this, but if you want to do something, you just got to do it.
Was it like difficult to have a follow-up to that track? I mean, to get into it.
And I think, you know, the follow-up we got wrong, you know, like I can sit here and I think at the same time now, it's like, I didn't understand, like now, or even a few years later, I would have understood exactly what was needed.
Yes.
But I didn't understand the pressure of following a hit. You know, now it's like, I've been very blessed to have done that a few times, but it's like, I think at the time I didn't have a clue, and I wasn't, you know, I didn't have. Now I think the main thing I'd say to anyone is, you know, you just got to like speak to as many people as humanly possible. Like, if you think you know what you're doing, sometimes you do, but like, knowledge is power. Like, just go and ask 10 people who've done it before and be like, oh, you know what, like, maybe you should work with this one or work with this one. And I just thought like I could figure it out. Yeah. And I think I did him a disservice with like the record we did after, because it wasn't great. But the only cool story about the record after, which I am quite proud of, is the record after was called Summertime, which wasn't a great record. But the only cool story about it is that it's a Daft Punk sample, and Daft Punk didn't want to clear the sample. But then a friend of mine, who I won't mention, but like a friend of mine who's like a legendary producer, made me aware of the fact that the Daft Punk record had sampled an obscure Sister Sledge B-side, and they had never actually cleared their sample. So sort of, even though Daft Punk had written to me and said, we're not going to clear this, because at the time too many hip hop records were using Daft Punk samples. You had the Busta Rhymes record, you had Kanye. Yes. They didn't want to become those people, right? So, which I respected, you know, that I was maybe an arsehole, but then I wrote back to them and said, well, look, this is how this can go. You know, we're on the same label as Sister Sledge. Yeah. I can make them aware of this uncleared sample, and that can become a bigger problem, or just clear my little sample.
Oh, that's crazy.
And we will win.
What a great story, man.
So they kind of probably hate me, but they cleared the sample, and
that's crazy, man.
It wasn't the best record.
Do you think it's like, it's almost like roulette, right? When a hit track hits, you almost get into the mentality of play the same number, almost redo the same thing you did on that same song.
Maybe you know what it is, like, anyone that tells you they can like forecast a hit is lying to themselves. I think there is kind of a formula to what you think a hit is, but I think, you know, there's songs I've really believed would be hits that like perhaps didn't become the biggest hits, and songs I've heard as demos that have gone on to become enormous hits. So it's like, sometimes you can just never forecast these things, you know?
I've got it here as a question to you, like, can you predict?
No, I mean, sometimes I've thought to myself, yeah, this is a hit. And then other times with other songs, I'll be honest, like the first time, well, yeah, I'll be 100% honest. The first time I heard the first demo of Water by Tyler, like I probably heard 18 versions of that song. So the first version I heard, I got sent 2 songs they did in that day. That they did Water, and I can't remember the other song they did, but they did 2 songs in the same day. And the first time I heard it, I thought I could show you the message. I said, "Oh, it's cool." Like I didn't at that time think, "Oh, this song's going to do 1 billion streams." I just thought it was cool, and and I'll sit here and I'll say that. Obviously, I'm so happy that we're involved in that song in some capacity, but at the same time, you don't always hear something and think hit. Sometimes it's like I didn't hear it and think, "Oh my God, this song's terrible." I thought it was cool. But in my wildest dreams, I didn't sit there and think this song is going to go on and do 1 billion streams for us,
Yeah, and just context for people. So also Sammy's on your...
Yeah,
so
we
Sammy
managed
Sosa,
Sammy
right?
Sosa, who did the whole Tyler album. So,
Yeah,
and has done
absolutely.
the new single Push to Start.
Crazy
So,
producer, man.
yeah, we're very
Wow.
proud of him. So,
Wow. Just back to Wiley. So how long did you manage Wiley
I
for?
did that for 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
Jeez, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. It was hectic.
Ups, downs, you saw the whole thing,
I
right?
mean, yeah, we had a real up and down relationship. So yeah, but you know what? Like I wouldn't be sat here without him.
100%.
And I'm proud of what we did together.
That's incredible. And then did you sort of once things ended with Wiley, did you end up sort of pivoting into the agency, or what came next after Wiley?
I always had the agency, but it was like, there were times where I felt for like my own well-being, I needed to be doing other things or prove to myself I could work with other people or I could break other acts. And I wasn't also good for my relationship with him to show him, oh, you know what, like I can do this. So
Yeah.
I think the first thing I found in one of these moments I was having in my mind was an act called Disciples, because obviously I have like a real love of dance music. And at the time, me and them just really clicked. And one of my sort of weird ideas I had was, to me, they were just like what I wanted at that time as an act.
Yes.
I was into Azarian Third at the time, who were like,
Yeah.
for those, Jamie Jones kind of became very
Remixed
big
it,
for
right?
remixing
Yeah.
Hungry for the Power. So it
Yes.
was like, at the time they were cool, and it was like, I wanted something in that vibe of like cool and could be live and could kind of speak in that world.
Where did you see them? Like,
It was the most, again, like all these things in my life seem to happen in the most bizarre ways. I went to a studio to meet this girl, Tara McDonald, who was like this house singer who'd done a bunch of big David Guetta records. And she was like, "When you come hear this record that I'm on?" So I was like, okay. So I came and the record was meh. But like the producers, I was like, well, who's made this track? And it was like these 3 guys in the studio that looked pretty cool. I was like, well, who are these guys? And she was a bit like, well, what about me? And I was like, well, don't worry about you. Who are these guys? And they were like, well, we're actually a band. We've just like formed called Disciples. I was like, yeah, I love these guys. I love it. And they started playing me the vibe. And at that time, like Deep House was starting to become a thing with like Shadow Child and Gorgon City was starting to become a thing. And it was like that beginning of that kind of sound. And I was just like, no, I really like this. And then, that we had this first song with them called They Don't Know, which kind of was like a sort of big club thing, but it started to cross over. And then in one of my weirder moments, I became obsessed with the Chantel song Impossible. Like
R&B song that...
exactly. That James Arthur randomly covered as well. But like,
Yes,
I became obsessed with that. And I was just like, who wrote this
song?
Yeah, I was like, who wrote this song? And then it was this woman, Ina Rolson. And so I tracked down Ina and I was like, you've got to work with my guys, Disciples. But at the time, all we had was this They Don't Know, like this club track. And they were very against it. And so I spent like, again, with the persistence, I spent like 3 months, like just begging her and her husband who manages her and the publisher, like what's the worst that can happen? It's an hour of your life, just come to the studio, just vibe with the guys. Let's see what's up. And she came to the studio.
And tell me, are you going like, okay, on this, just you in your mind, are you going, I'm hearing this sort of writing on this sort of
I don't know what I was thinking.
or...
I was more thinking like, I want to put someone who's intrinsically understands pop or understands what a hit is with cooler production.
Okay.
Because it's like, we can have cooler tracks and club things, but how do I make this mainstream? They'll bring the cool in terms of the production and how it sounds and the sonics.
Yes.
But I want something that can kind of give me a chance at radio or give me a chance to take this band into like, what's my Hungry for the Power, but like bigger, You know, like how do I aim bigger than that?
Who knows how to write a
who knows how to give me something
okay.
that can kick me into like a realm where I can really win with these guys.
Wow.
And for some reason, I just really landed on her. I decided she was the answer to my everything.
That's crazy.
And I don't know why, but it turned out I was right. But in that hour or two,
so she came to the studio.
She came to the studio, got her to the studio. She came. She was like, "Oh my god, I hate this. I'm leaving." So I was like,
serious?
"Please, can you come? Like, just give us another half an hour."
Yes.
In that half an hour, she wrote "How Deep Is Your Love."
Oh,
so it's
bro,
like
that's crazy. Is that the?
It's the Calvin Harris. So so then we.
That's mad.
We then. We were then quite excited about the song. So we then sent it to Calvin, thinking, well, like I don't know, like he might be into the song. He then came back being like, I really like the song. I'd like to be involved. And, I think like the version that we had, I Could Play You, was like this kind of Balearic sort of dreamy thing. And what's so special about Calvin was he was able to, and when we were talking earlier about understanding a hit, I think Calvin 100% understands a hit.
Yes.
In terms of like, you can deliver him a song that in your mind you think this is great, but then you hear what we had and you hear what Calvin did to the song, even though it's not huge things, it's still things that like will go from this song might do okay to this is a song that's now done nearly 2 billion streams.
Crazy.
So it's like that. Yeah, I guess that was a moment where I felt like, yeah, you know what, like I've proven that I need to have my own identity and kind of my own thing and to show that I know what I know what I'm doing a little bit, and I'm not in the shadow of this this kind of genius that everyone just has always associated me as like co-pilot of this chaotic genius train ride.
I think it's a big moment in your career, right? Because you're like, you fall into the management thing with someone. Yes, you have a long career with them, but to be able to do that by having a vision with the right song, the right producers, and something else falling into place, all of a sudden you're the common denominator, right? Then it's
not the way I see it is this, right? It's like you're an artist, right?
Yeah.
Your job is to paint. I'm not here to tell you what to paint.
Yes.
But my job is to frame and sell. So it's like I need a painting to frame and sell.
Yes.
I can come up with the idea of what the painting could be, but you've got to paint. Yeah. I can't paint for you.
Yeah.
So I didn't paint that picture.
Yes.
I just kind of imagined a picture and said, you know what, like this could be a great picture. And then my job was just to frame and sell that picture to the biggest possibility.
But we can't downplay it. Also,
I'm not, but I also I can't sit here and, that's other people. I didn't make that song.
Of course.
I just decided that a group of people needed to know each other. Yes. And I'm proud of the small part I played in that. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And that's also, it's like it's an important thing, to see that vision and to push, like the reality is, had you not pushed for this to happen, a record like that would not exist.
100%.
So that's the beauty of it, man. So, and then what comes after that, bro? So you got, that must be huge, but that must have sold an insane amount of records.
It did well. And what's weird is what it is when you have these moments, it's like a weird addiction where it's never enough, and that's the main thing is like, I remember distinctly being with them and some friends in Ibiza when we found out the record had sold 1 million copies and everyone was celebrating. I didn't celebrate at all. I was like, I'll celebrate when we sell 5 million. because it was like, in my mind, I was like, it's not enough.
That's crazy.
And I look at it now and like, now, obviously that's a bit insane, but it was like, I think just like my ambition was a bit insane, and it's like, I think I'm still a bit like that now, but I think you still have to celebrate your wins, even your smallest wins, because things to be proud of, and I think I've like mellowed with that in terms of like, I celebrate any type of wins, and like I'm proud to have like a amazing team of people around me. It's not just me doing this. I have an amazing like little team that work with me, and my job is to help them just celebrate any little wins we have.
Incredible, man, incredible. And currently on the roster on A-List Management, you've got Kojey Radical.
Kojey Radical.
He's so dope, man.
Yeah, we love
Gotta bring him
Kojey.
out to South Africa.
Oh yeah,
bro.
I mean he's been here on holiday a few times, but yeah, he has to come and do some shows. So Kojey, you guys need to check him out. Kojey's like, I'd say for me, he's like my UK Childish Gambino. Like in terms of, we're so proud of him. He's like a, singer, poet, actor, like activist. Like he's just a rapper. He's just, you can't put him in one box.
Yeah.
Like for example, a few weeks ago, he hosted the Fashion Awards in London with, Maya Jama. And, it's like, so he's at the epicenter of fashion in the UK, but at the same time, he'll be in the studio with this one the next day, or, we have him acting in this thing here. It's like, we feel excited to, I like working with people that kind of excite me, or kind of, I feel, and he just has that source where you just feel like,
How did you meet him?
How did I meet him? Someone that used to work with me found him and brought him to me, and I just so believed in him when I met him. He just had that swag. Like when I first met him, it was just, he had that special thing. But I think the other thing is also to back your people. The guy that brought him to me, I was like, you know what? I just want to back my people. It's just believing in your people. And you can't, like, Kojey can't not walk in a room and you think star, you know? So I think it was just that. And
absolutely.
He just has, and then the annoying thing about him is you're in a room with him and you feel like the shittest dressed person in the world, because he'll come in with like some kind of pearl necklace and pink coat or something, and
crazy.
I'll turn up in my like standard black hoodie and feel like a schluff or something, So yeah.
And tell me, how do you link up with Alderbrook? How does that whole?
So again, this was a really strange situation where he was a friend of mine who's now like a manager of big DJs, a guy called Jazz Spinder. So he looks after Jamie Jones and other people.
Yeah.
But Jazz Spinder used to be at CAA in America, and he like cold called me. I didn't know him. So I get this call from a Los Angeles number. Hey, what's up? At the time, I was having the success with Disciples, so I was sort of feeling myself a bit at the time. What's happening? Hi. Is that, this is Jazz from CAA, blah, blah. Okay, what's going on? Would you like to manage this DJ? They put the name of like a well-known DJ to me. And I was like, oh no, I don't think I want to do that. Because it was like, my thing was, I don't want to be the person that like, I want to be the person that comes with you to the top of the mountain. I don't want to be like, you've been at the top of the mountain and you've gone down and I need to get you back to the mountain, because all people will ever remember is what it was. They won't give you, it's like, as fun as it is and this and that, you want to be the person that's gone on a ride with someone, or like, unless you have a vision of, okay, how am I going to reincarnate this into what it could be and bigger?
Yes.
I think it's like, I want to be involved with things I like developing things, or wanting to be involved with things where I have a real vision of, okay, you know what, this is how we're going to make this relevant again, because the universe needs this, And I think with that particular person, I didn't have that vision. So he was like, yeah, no worries. I respect that. While I've got you, what do you think of this kid, Elderbrook? I was like, I don't know who that is. And he was like, oh, well, let me send you a SoundCloud link. And he sent it to me, and it was, and him had done a remix of the song How Many Times. Yes. And I was like, wow, this is sick. And I managed to get hold of Elderbrook within like the next few hours. And then I flew him to Ibiza randomly, because I was in Ibiza with Disciples. He came and stayed with me for like 4 days. And I was like, I love this guy. And yeah, he's been like my little kid, and proud to have been with him for like 8 years or so.
That's crazy, bro. And you guys have had a crazy journey together, man. And to see what
it's
you guys have built, man.
Yeah, you know what? It's been special to go on this journey with him and see how kind of how well America has received it, or other parts of the world. And yeah, he's also just a special talent and songwriter, and just a good human being.
Yeah. Is that something you look at in an artist you're working with now? Do you like look at maybe how serious they take it and how they are as human beings in general, or is it just only like sort of they can do this musically and talent based? How do you?
I think, you know what, like being a manager is like being in a relationship. It's like you have to interact with someone constantly, so there has to be a personal vibe, and you have to feel like, you know what, they get on with me, I get on with them, and the energies can match, and I feel like I can do a good job for them. And then I think also, you know, it has to be something like, well, what can I bring to this person? Otherwise, like, what am I doing it for? You know, I think it's like, it's got to be that, you know, and it's got to be someone that I think makes sense for me. You know, like, for example, I don't think I would be the best person to go and manage the Libertines or like an indie band, because it's like, that's not my wheelhouse. And I'd be doing them a disservice, because it's like, that's not my world. It's not like I don't like it or appreciate it, but it's like, I need to kind of, for me to add the most value to something, I need to feel like, well, I completely understand the world this lives in, and I know how we move this forward. You know, like I would, and I think that's important, not just doing something because you think, oh, this is the hot thing and let me figure it out. I think that's not, you're doing everyone a disservice in that situation. I'd rather be like, you know, and I've been offered, you know, perhaps to my discredit, you know, like, I was once offered like to co-manage like what became a massive female pop star, you know, in the UK. But it was like, her manager came to me at the time. She'd left another management company. She was like, oh, you know, I feel like I need to do this with someone. And I said to her, I don't think you do. I think you just need to believe in yourself, you know. And like, I don't have enough. I don't feel like I could bring enough value. You know, at the time, I feel like it would be a different story now. But at the time, I felt like I was very entrenched in like in the grime and hip hop and dance, and I was like, I don't know about putting on pop arena shows and this, you know. So at the time I was just like, I think you just got to back yourself, you know. And it's like other people would just land grab and be like, well, no, I've got to get that. But I think, you know, and I think I'm still friends with those people to this day, because it's like, I didn't try and do that, you know. And or if I'm going to partner with someone, it's because I know I bring a lot to the table, or I can move something forward. I think, you know, being disingenuous, you can make quick money, but then this business is about longer term relationships, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's incredible, man. Are there any artists that you look back on, you're like, we should have signed that one? How did I let it go? Or not really?
I mean, yeah, of course, 100%.
Really?
You know? Yeah, I mean, I had 14-year-old Ed Sheeran in my house, you know, so it was like...
That's crazy, bro. Are you serious?
Well, yeah, so, you know, we look after a producer called Jake Gosling.
Yeah, I saw.
So he did the first 2 Ed Sheeran albums, and Jake kind of discovered a young Ed, and Ed was very into Wiley at the time. And, you know, they even have a few tracks together, and Ed had like an EP. I think it was called a collaboration EP or something, where he had a lot of grime features before any success. And, you know, I was around Ed. Like, at one point I had more like followers than Ed, you know, so it was like, and I love Ed, and he's such a special human being, and he's never become a different human being with all the success. And he needed to go on the journey he went on with Stuart, his manager.
Yes.
And it was like, but at the time, I didn't get it, you know. I didn't get the rapping, and I thought he was an amazing singer, but I didn't understand. I didn't see it, you know. Like it was at that time you got the loop pedal and the rapping. I just didn't get it, and I didn't understand. I didn't see what Jake saw, and that's, you know, again why Jake's an artist and I'm a framer, you know. So it was like, of course, that, you know, that's the big one that got away. But then I don't know that I could have taken him on the journey that Stuart took him on, because at the end of the day, everything is meant to kind of, you can sit and be like, oh, if I had a time machine, I'd go and do this. But you know what? Everything has brought me here.
Yes.
And everyone is meant to go on the journeys they're meant to go on. You know, Ed was meant to go on his journey with Stuart, and people were meant to like doubt him for him to develop and have the feelings that came into those songs.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But I guess there's an important lesson there as well, right? It's like, I'm sure you looked at so many artists differently after that, because you looked through the lens of like a diamond in the rough on a whole different
100%.
perspective, right?
I was at one of his first ever shows at a pub in London, in Ladbroke Grove, where there were 7 people. And,
Crazy,
you know,
bro.
I saw him get on a table, and it was kind of at that moment, because I've met, you know, we'd hung out a few times before, but I saw him get on a table, and even though like there was like, it was just a weird pub and no one cared, he still had the confidence to do that. And like, he believed in himself so much that it was amazing to see. And I guess just from an outside point of view, seeing someone within the space of, I think it was 6 or 7 years, maybe, go from that pub to multiple nights at Wembley Stadium,
crazy, bro.
and become one of the biggest artists in the world was, you know, amazing to see, you know. So I think it was it was, you know, I guess also, well, I mean, I didn't ever have the chance to do anything with her, but similar, Jake had the chance to sign a young Dua Lipa. So Dua was around us a lot as, you know, I've known Dua since she was 17 or so. So it's like seeing two people that I've known from, you know, wannabe people to being two of the biggest acts in the world, I think has been something that's kind of always kind of shown me, you know, to, as you say, to never kind of look at something and say, well, you know, oh, I don't know about this, because at the end of the day, what's not for me might be for someone else.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's like, if I can, it's about kind of finding, again, back to my framing analogy of like, okay, you know what, I might not love that painting, but doesn't mean 400 other people won't, you know? So I just have to think of the best way of bringing this to market, because it doesn't matter. Like, who am I to decide what the masses are going to like, you know?
You know, I was like in primary school, and the teacher had to like review a book, and that one little moment changed everything for me, because she was like, okay, you're going to review a book, and I got like something I didn't like. She's like, okay, now you're going to put yourself in the mind of someone who loves these types of books. And I was like, that was like an aha moment for me. And I always looked at A&Ring or artists and musicians and putting stuff together so differently, you know, and I always kept that sort of principle of going, okay, if I loved this style of music, who would be the artist I would look at? And so I think
it's a good way to think, though, because it's like what your personal taste is. And I think that's what affected my judgment sometimes in the past isn't kind of, you can't assume that everyone shares the same taste as you. So that's such an arrogant, egotistical thing to assume, you know? And I think you have to like be more open to the fact that, okay, you know what, like, this is what the vibes are, you know, and it might not be exactly what you love, but you know, if you want to be in the masses game, this is what it is, you know.
100%. So, that's powerful, man. Tell me, what does the future look like if you have to look at sort of through the lens of maybe the next couple of years? Like, what is your North Star with A-List?
I think growing, you know, I really want to be more in the rights business. So growing out publishing side of our business, growing out, you know, getting maybe into records, and, you know, like helping, you know, I'm, as I said before about my team, you know, I have an amazing team, and it's like watching them win, you know. There's an amazing guy who works for me called Josh, and he's been integral in Sammy and Tyler's situation, and, you know, watching him become who he's becoming feels proud to me, because he came to me as an intern in lockdown, and now it's like, you know, I'll touch on the Tyler thing quickly. So it's like with Sammy, we were introduced to Sammy through a friend of mine, this girl called Honor. At the time, Sammy had done some stuff with WizKid, and he was an amazing producer. But then I always just kind of felt there was something special about Tyler. Like, I remember when she first got signed to Epic, and she had the video of her in like in the football field or the school or something. It was like an amazing video. For some reason, I can't remember the name of the song.
Getting late.
Sorry, I went out last night. And I did get late. So but no. So I just thought there was something so special about this girl.
Yeah,
you know, that video, like just the way, I don't know, something just felt. And then a woman called Taponiswa, who I love, who was like the head of Sony Africa, based in the UK. Introduced me to Colin, Tyler's manager. So shout out to Colin. And Josh, who works with me. You know, I said to him, the main thing I said to Josh or anyone that works with me is just to be persistent. You know, sometimes people aren't gonna. You've got to just like give people a reason to try something. You know, so I think I introduced Josh to Colin and said, look, you know, I think Sammy and Tyler could be a thing. You know, and that was just I thought, just in my head, I was like, I think it's worth a try. In a million years, I didn't see the end goal of that. But like, I thought that could be a good marriage based on what I believed in Sammy and what I thought Tyler could be. And so then Josh, just relentlessly built this relationship with Colin, and just relentlessly, just kept persisting with Colin, until one day Colin was like, he did give us a chance and was like, you know what, why don't you come to Atlanta? And And in that one day in Atlanta, that's when Water was written, you know?
Crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
And they did quite a few records on this album, right?
Did the whole album. Apart from one song, yeah.
Crazy.
And got the current single Push to Start, so yeah.
Crazy, man. No, that's like sometimes it just works, and that's like a relationship that clicked, and you can hear it sonically, and just how cohesive the project is, how cohesive the singles are. That makes so much sense. I thought he did quite a bit on the project. I didn't know he did the whole project. Man.
Apart
That's
from
crazy.
like I think 1 or 2 songs. Yeah.
Crazy, man. Crazy. What would you say is your biggest advantage, bro, as someone who works in this creative space?
Get to do what I love. You know, I think it's like I get to do what I love, which is a blessing. And I think that's it. You know, I get to do what I love because there are not many people who get to kind of, a lot of people, their work is just work and it's mundane. You know, like I don't know what my week will look like. I know that, okay, I have these meetings or I have this or that, but no day is the same, you know, and it's like, one day it could be like, okay, we've got a problem with this show over there, or this session's been cancelled, or this one has to fly here to do this or that. Or, you know, it's like, I'm fortunate that I have a backseat into like some great moments in music. You know, like I the biggest buzz is being able to like be driving around somewhere like here, and a song you were involved with comes on the radio, and you feel like, I did that. You know, that it's a nice feeling to kind of feel like, oh yeah, you know, when like Cola comes on the radio, or like an Ed song comes on the radio, or whatever it is, it's like you feel like, oh yeah, you know what, like I played like a tiny part in that situation. So,
amazing. Yeah. I love that, bro. How big is your team, by the way?
So I have 6 people that work with me. Very proud of them all, and you know that's my main thing now, going forward, is to like raise them up. You know, my job now is to kind of turn them into better versions of me. You know, they have to like, I've done okay, they've got to do better than me. And it's like, my job now is to help them like win. When I see my people win, that makes me proud because I feel like I've done something okay. You know, like I mentioned Josh, like came to me as an intern during lockdown. I hadn't even met him for 3 months, you know, and now I'm proud that, you know, at his young age, 24, 25, he's having global hits with me, you know? So it's like, and I want that for everyone that works with me, because it's like, that's when I feel like I've actually, I can be like, okay, I did something, because that's more pride making for me to be like, you know what, I've passed the baton to these guys now, and they're going to go and win the race, you know? Like I took it round the first 200 meters, but they need to win this now and do better, you know?
I love that, bro. That's powerful. This question I want to split into 2, because you're someone who's done a lot of record deals, I can imagine, over his life.
Yeah.
If we're to think high level, right? If we give someone's listening and we're giving advice, how do we, if we're to high level, give someone advice on what is sort of a good deal and what's sort of something to stay clear of? Do you look at it as in what the revenue they're making off their streams, and that's how they should structure a deal? Is it?
I think it depends. I think it depends what's important at that time, right? Yes. I think if you're a self-releasing artist and you have revenue and it's all going well, but everyone piles in and wants to offer you loads of money because they can see, okay, George has released an EP. The EP has done 10 million streams without much support. Okay, you know what, George, here's some money, right? So then at that time you have to think, well, if I'm releasing myself and I'm on a 90-10 split, let's say, or 80-20 split, so that means 90% or 80% of the money is in your favor, and then someone's adminning that on a 10 or 20% basis. You're getting regular income that you own, and you own a catalog that at some point you could sell, or you could loan against, or you could do something, right?
Yeah.
If I come along as major record label, I don't know, George, here's £500,000, you know, but then suddenly the split isn't the split. The split is suddenly like, oh, you're on 20%, you know? So it's suddenly like, oh, now you've got to recoup £500,000 before you're going to make any money. You know, so if in that moment the need is, okay, you know what, I need to buy a house. So then, you know, it's kind of what is important in that moment. I always try and do things where it's like, I never want to be in the situation that you don't want to do something for the wrong reasons because, oh my God, we need money or this, because there's other things we can think about to do that won't put us in a bad deal.
Yes.
And I think too many people, who was clever at this was Central C, for example. It's like he had an amazing catalog. He was self-releasing all his hits that he's had, or until sort of the last year, everything was independent. So it's like they had this incredible catalog. People kept throwing money at them. Same with Miles Smith, singer-songwriter, recently signed to RCA. The Stargazing is on RCA. But before he signed, Miles Smith was making a lot of money self-releasing, and then did a big deal, and everyone was like, oh, so much money. But now you'd look and you'd give Miles Smith 10 times that money. Mm-hmm. Or Central C, when he signed his deal, he kept his catalog separate. So most people would get an inflated number, but they would have to pay through the income from the catalog to said label, to kind of like offset the amount. But, when you're kind of an artist of his stature, I mean, I don't know, I haven't seen his deal. This is what I've kind of heard about his deal. So don't take this as fact. But from what I understand from people that told me about it, that was carved out. And that's the type of situation you want to be in. Deals I've done in the past is where I'll be like, okay, you know what? Things we've self-released or this, I want to keep that for them, because there'll come a time in life you might want to sell a catalog, and you want it to be that you own that. That's your pension, It's that's your monthly income,
Got you. That's powerful. So like you can just focus on the future sort of release and package that. What do you need to bring this to life? And then
completely. And I think too many people rush into deals for the wrong reasons. And I think why are you signing this deal is the first thing you should stop and think about. I think, what is it that is, if it's just for money, then, think about the money you're taking. Think about, okay, what income am I currently making? What does this do? Maybe you take less money, but you make the royalties better. So it's like, okay, I want half the money, but I want to be on a 50-50 royalty with you guys. So it's kind of A, you're going to recoup faster, but B, kind of maybe going forward, it's a better situation, And then look, if ultimately at the end of the day, if a deal's working, everything's up for renegotiation. It's like if you've hit something out the park, then everyone wants to keep everyone happy, don't they?
Yes.
So yeah.
And then similarly, if someone's listening, I think like, what advice would you give to up and coming managers, who are stepping into this realm of, what would you tell yourself 10, 15 years ago?
I'd say, you know what? You don't need to go to a course or a university or read a book. You need to just the most powerful thing is talking to other people who've seen it, done it, lived it, like reach out to other managers, speak to lawyers. There's a music managers forum, you can join with other managers, where there's like Zooms and other things with people who can talk to you about touring or can talk to you about things. There's no amount of like knowledge. You should always be trying to learn, and put yourself around people who can help you learn. It's like, that's the most important thing. I would have done 10, 15 years ago. Like I tried to do that, but I think it's the most valuable thing I can show the people that work with me now is, like, don't assume that I know what I'm saying. Like, go and ask 10 other people, like, let's get different opinions. There might be different thought processes on this. And then it's like, just knowledge is power, and just keep asking questions, especially when you're young or you're someone's friend and they want you, they want the friend to be the manager or this or this. It's like, and every big company will pile in and try and take the artist, or try and, sometimes it's like, well, what you do, every one of those meetings where they want you to come and bring the artist, ask them questions, and learn from those things. Well, what would you do if I brought X artist into you, and be like, okay, well, they would do this, they would do that. And then you're absorbing information from all these different people, and you don't need to take X artist to X company, because you can just do it on your own. But you need to learn, like, get information, and people are always willing to talk to other people, because it's a lonely, thankless business being a manager. But at the same time, we understand it's like a thing. I understand any manager trying to do this, and I try and respond or talk to anyone that wants to have interactions with me. It's like, who am I to not interact with people?
Yeah. That's really strong, man. So, bro, if you could send a message to every single person, if every single person in the world was listening to this podcast right now, 8 billion people, and this snippet goes to every single person, what would you like to leave people with? Whether it's a quote or just something you would like to tell them, or
you know, I think just be kind. You know, like someone said something to me yesterday, which I said to which I pulled them up on, right? So someone said to me yesterday, I was at a party and I was, shocked that the toilet attendant remembered my name. And I said, you know what? A toilet attendant isn't any different to the person you're sat next to. And if you think they are, that's on you, and I think more people need to just be like, you know what? Everyone is just a person and everyone is just trying in life. It doesn't matter where you're from, religion, there's a lot of division, and just be kind, just like if you just approach people as like, that's just a person, as opposed to, oh, well, that person does this, so I'm going to look down on this person or this like crazy attitude. I think in anything, there's too much division in stuff because of how people perceive people, Absolutely. So I think just try and be kind,
That's beautiful. Anything else from your side, bro?
I'm just happy to be here, and it's nice to hang, and I'm so grateful for you having me. And
absolutely,
it's good to be back in SA.
Yeah, bro. From my side, I just want to say, bro, you're an absolute legend. I'm glad we're doing this because I think it's going to be important for more South Africans to know about you.
Yeah, I'm so grateful.
You really are someone who raises our flag high. It
means a lot to me. Like I'm really, I want people to know, like, it's really in my heart. Like it really, really is in my heart, and I feel proud to be like, that my family is South African, and I feel proud to be here, so yeah.
And yeah, bro, you're an absolute legend, and your humility, bro, I just want to touch on that and just give you your flowers, bro. From the moment I met you, you're just someone who's always checking in, always exploring new ideas, always exploring market, and always you do it the right way. The artists that come to South Africa, they're just trying to get their paycheck and get out of here, managers. But you're really about coming here, building, how can we connect the dots? And so I just want to...
You know what it is? You got to be in the culture.
Absolutely.
It's like, it can't touch on other things about doing deals or things for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to be in some, or if you want to actually, depends what your goal is. If you want to just do like quick cash grabs, cool, good luck to you. Like I'm more about building, how can we open up other markets, or how can we do things, I'll touch on another like another thing that eye-opened me is a mutual friend of ours we have who was on your podcast as well, who I love, Sean Duvet, right? So
legend, yeah.
Like 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe 7 years ago, Sean like brought me to Trezor, was an artist here in South Africa,
yes.
And I love Trezor, and we're friends now, and at the time, similar with the, perhaps this is, I need to go home and like do some therapy or something. But yeah, at the same time, Trezor was playing me songs, and I didn't, I didn't perhaps see the vision or the other thing, and it's like fast forward and, I'm so happy for Trezor and all his success. And, he's produced sort of 2 Drake albums now, and we still speak all the time. But it's like one of those things where I think that was another lesson to me, where it's like, again, if you want to be in a market or you want to be anywhere, if I want to be here, even if, my family is from here, my cousins live here or whatever, if I want to understand something, I have to just, again, not think, oh, well, I don't know if I understand this. It's like, well, I have to understand more what's happening here to be like, okay, well, I might not get it, but this is what's happening and I need to be in it, Yes. And so I think that's the real thing I feel whenever I'm in a place, is like, not, oh, how can we quickly grab a check, but how can we immerse ourselves or understand what moves the dial here, And so that's the way you can really build something more powerful,
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, bro. And you do that so tastefully, and you're all about building. And yeah, bro, it's an honor to know you. And
likewise.
I think you're just getting started, bro. You're really, I think you're gonna have some of the biggest artists on your roster. You're gonna do some of the craziest.
Hopefully, we're gonna do some stuff together.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
That's
but
what
thank
I
you,
hope.
my brother.
Thank you
for making time.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
That's beautiful,
Thank you.
man. That's gonna inspire so many people, bro.
I hope so.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Heavy is the head that wear the crown. When I take the crown off, I put it on ice.